Hello, everybody, and welcome again to another OpenShift Commons briefing. This time we're going to talk a little bit about launching applications in OpenShift, and there's lots of different ways of doing this, but we're going to introduce the launcher. And I'm going to let George Gastaldi, who's with Red Hat, talk a little bit about the projects that he's been working on, and I have an S on the end of that because it's more than just one thing. And he's come from the middleware developer experience group, and going to give us a demo of some new tools or oldish tools. So I'm just going to let him explain. And the format for this is ask your questions in the chat. We'll turn some live Q&A on at the end, and hopefully we can get some good back and forth and feedback on this today. So George, with that, please take it away.
All right, thank you, Diane. So my name is George Gastaldi, and I work in the middleware developer experience team as a core developer in the launcher project. And in this session, I would like to introduce the goal of why we're here, and then explain what the launcher is, and finally demo the work that we have done so far. So simply put, the goal here is to our main goal is to get launcher moved into the OpenShift brand by making it part of the OpenShift Commons organization. What happens now is that historically, the launcher has been developed under the Fabricate brand. And we have noticed that those communication channels have not been incredibly effective for upstream development. So we like to align this tool more closely with the OpenShift platform that it supports. Well, with that said, what is Launcher? Launcher is basically a system which enables application developers to use OpenShift to quickly create, build, and deploy applications. The Launcher system can also enhance the experience of application developers using OpenShift by relieving application developers from the responsibility of having to learn OpenShift and Kubernetes constructs. It also provides a single story for application creation, build, and deployment on OpenShift. And it can also be surfaced in all Red Hat developer-facing properties, such as the OpenShift console, OpenShift IO, and IDE plugins, such as the ones that run on Che and VS Code and Eclipse IDE. And it also makes available a unified flow for application creation, for doing application creation on OpenShift, no matter the runtime. So it doesn't matter if you have a Node.js or a Vertex or a Python or a Go application, you can simply launch your application in OpenShift using our system. I have developed like a general flow trying to give more insight of how the launcher works. So the flow is that the developer using the launcher UI or maybe a VS Code extension will provide the necessary inputs to generate an application. And the backend, the launcher backend, that will be responsible to generate the necessary sources, create and push the sources to a GitHub repository, and finally deploy it on OpenShift, all in a single click. So to illustrate that, I'd like to present a little demo. And that demo works like this. Right now we have our launcher running under the developers. Navigate to developers. Red Hat upon launch, and this is running for about 1 year and a half, and we have delivered an experience of promoting our Red Hat OpenShift application runtimes. So that means that when you enter the Red Hat Developer Launch project as it is right now, you can choose, for instance, how do you want to launch your application. So let's start. We can start by selecting a target environment. So you can simply choose I want to code locally, build and deploy, or if you just want to generate the project and then build and run locally, and then after as a zip file, and then after that push to your OpenShift cluster, that works too. But the concept here is that we have divided what we call it a mission and a runtime, or specifications and implementations. So suppose that you want to check how do you implement a REST API in a specific runtime, like say, well, let's pick Node.js, and then you provide some information on where the sources will be stored. So launcher can just simply push the sources to your GitHub account. And finally, you have a summary, and you can make some minor changes as the version of the application that is going to be generated, or the application name. And then you can finally set up the application. What happens next is that the GitHub repository, you see that it has created a repository here. And these sources, this was just generated like 17 seconds ago, and these sources are now being built in my OpenShift cluster. So I can have a look at my build. And I can see that my application is fully deployed in my OpenShift cluster, and I can also test it if I want. So see that it works perfectly. And the good thing is that you can also notice that there is a webhook configured in this. Sure. See that there is a webhook configured to my OpenShift cluster. So whenever I create a pull request or I push some changes to my app, it will automatically trigger a source to image build in OpenShift. And this is the launcher as we have right now. What is in production right now? So what I want to show you is right now is our version 2.0 from launcher, and this is a work in progress. And this is like the first time I'm showing this, because we wanted to make an experience of instead of teaching people how to make component-based design on the cloud, like provisioning a new database or starting a new code base, we thought about in terms of capability of what can this thing do. And then the result is that when you choose a capability, that capability will span into components. So we have developed this front end as part of the new launcher. We call it right now the application creator. And we start by presenting a minimal set of questions for the user in terms of what they want to do to create a new application. So we can move on and select the language and runtime. So let's pick Vertex, for example. The good thing is that you're free to add any runtime that you might find useful in this app. So you can also add Python or Go or whatever other runtime if you need it. So this is where it gets different from the others generators. So unlike other generators that are specific to a certain technology, we don't present them with a list of dependencies that will just get simply put into your build descriptor and then you're done with it. We offer them a set of capabilities, and that will turn into generated code and also illustrate with a demo app on how to access those capabilities. So suppose you want an application which talks to the database, and you also want this application to expose a set of REST endpoints. So you simply choose what your application needs, and then you can proceed on deploying this app. And the application creator will perform the same steps that I have shown in our current launcher. But the end result is that after you deploy your app, you get something like this. Compared to other providers, you usually get a welcome to Node.js pages or something that says that your application is on. But with Launcher, you get a welcome page with an UI to the function and features. So here you can see, you can check what is the application URL. If you want to navigate to the OpenShift console URL to get more information, you have a URL here too. Also, you have more information about the runtime that you have chosen, such as the version that you picked, some GitHub URL, what is the base image that was used to build your application, with links to the documentation if you need, and then this is when things start to look interesting, because we generate everything and we put together end to end. We can actually, from this front end application, prove that things are all working together. So I can test my health check endpoints in here as my liveness and readiness checks. As I have chosen to expose some HTTP API endpoints, I can also test them here by simply clicking, and if I want to perform something different, I can have the response in here. Also, as I have chosen the relational database, I can perform a get and a post on an exposed endpoint, and maybe test, maybe add a new entity or delete a new entity. So this is a fully functional UI for the application that you have just generated. And you can also go further, like suppose that you have chosen like a messaging capability. Now you have a UI, a section where you can test the queues and the topics that you have chosen to expose, and have that fully working here. And this is basically the launcher. This is the demo that I have planned for you.
So, George, do you have a final slide, or can you go to the GitHub repo where all of this is currently living, so that we can have an idea of where we can find out more?
Yes. So right now we have our sources under the Fabricate Launcher organization. We have split them into two different components. What we're working right now is the UI that you have just seen is this one, is the Launcher Creator Welcome app. And this is deployed as part of your application. And we're also making changes to the creator homepage to add a checkbox here, choosing if you want or not that welcome app to be deployed in your final application. The Launcher Creator backend contains the sources where the fun is, like where the code is generated, and when the code gets pushed to our launcher backend. So the launcher backend is also in another repository over here. This is another component. It's a Java EE application, and this is also the backend that is used in both UI. You have in the end you have it deployed as part of your final application. We also have another repository with the templates to install we install the launcher. So we have we have here the launcher templates. When you run this command OC create, you get everything that I have just shown you installed in your own OpenShift cluster. So you can try it yourself. And what else? Oh, we have here in the Fabricate launcher, we have the launcher planning, which is where we have all the issues. If you find any issue in the launcher, we ask you to file under the launcher planning repository, and then we will sort it out into the necessary repositories and perform the necessary work to fix them.
So I would, and one of the reasons we're doing this this briefing on this topic is because I'm asking in the chat too if people have any questions, but it seems not too many people have heard of this, and so we're trying to socialize it a little bit more to get some more feedback on it. And Bert, I'm not sure who Helio is talking. He's or I think a lot of these are Red Hatters and other folks who have actually used and done a little bit of work on this project or a part of it. But what I'm really kind of interested in is this is a way of launching applications. There are multiple ways of building applications and deploying applications with OpenShift. So I'm really curious to see and hear from other people, maybe not on today's call, but in other places, you know, how this works for them, if this workflow is what they're looking for, and where else we can improve this, and if this is something, how it I think the baseline OpenShift, say OpenShift Online or OpenShift onboarding for a new application process doesn't have all of this wonderful additional capabilities, and I'm really curious as to whether people are using this now in production. If you are, please let us know. We'd love to get your feedback on it. And if there are any questions at all, George, if you can put your opening slide up again, perhaps so that they know how to get a hold of you.
Sure.
And that would be a great way to kind of get this whole topic moving of launching applications in OpenShift. Because we're really quite interested in what the workflows are you're doing today, where you need additional facilities or helping onboard new applications and figuring out what role we can use Launcher in. I know there's one other gentleman from the group who's on here. Andrew, are you still logged in? And is there anything that you want to add here?
Folks, how are you? Thanks, Diane. Yeah, so I guess I think George did a great job summing up where we're at. If I were to give it a 2-sentence pitch, I'd say that from within middleware, we try and advocate on behalf of the application developer and make sure that we're covering that perspective in a way that's familiar to them. So this system right here is designed to talk to the grammars with which an application developer may be familiar, and also designed to be extensible to be surfaced in all of the developer properties that may go into OpenShift. So what we're trying to do here is create an opinionated flow that gets people writing their business logic within 5 minutes, built and deployed on OpenShift. And we feel that this can strengthen the experience of the application developer and strengthen the OpenShift community by being able to reach people, because after all of this infrastructure is designed to run applications.
Perfect. That was a perfect elevator pitch there. So thank you for that.
And I will say, to reiterate George's point, we're looking to move into the OpenShift community to better reflect that we're looking to support this project, and for all of the repositories that we've shown here and for all the communication channels we have, we're open to changing those to fit better align with that community. We know that we're not going to bring in 19 repositories under the OpenShift Commons organization. So we're excited to have that discussion and see how we can change the way that we work to best fit the community and make it easier to get these types of things in here rather than building on top of.
Sounds like a good motto and a good way of moving this forward. So
thanks.
I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. If there's anybody who has a question and wants to be unmuted to ask it, just let me know. And I'll do that and add you into the conversation. I'll give it a few more minutes here. But if not, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the blog post with this video so you can watch it slowly and maybe try it and install it yourselves and give us some feedback on it. And we definitely, if you're inside of Red Hat and you're using this, or you're outside of Red Hat and using this, we definitely want to get some more feedback on this and grow the group of people who are using it and working on it and contributing to it. So anything that you can add to the conversation, we greatly appreciate. George, are there any final words you want to add in there?
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I really look forward to having a launcher into the OpenShift Commons brand.
Yeah.